Exile. That's the solution, and I'm afraid it's the only solution.
The priceless Windsor crown, a symbol of power meant for Princess Catherine, almost vanished into the darkness of night. But the real shock wasn't the boldness of the thief in the underground vault. It was the mastermind behind it. A carefully planned heist fueled by Queen Camilla's burning jealousy, designed to strip Kate of her moment and humiliate her before millions the very next morning. What Camilla didn't realize was that Prince William was already one step ahead. No alarms, no guards, no media leaks. Instead, William set the trap himself. Using the palace security system, he caught the intruder in the act and secured a chilling audio recording that could expose everything. At that moment, the royal conflict lost all its elegance, revealing blackmail, manipulation, and the darkest tactics used behind palace walls. Now, with undeniable proof in his hands, what punishment will William deliver to his stepmother? Will Camilla quietly accept defeat, fading into the shadows? Or will this humiliation spark something far more dangerous, a collapse that could shake the entire dynasty? Inside her private chamber, Queen Camilla sat frozen under the cold glow of a television screen. Her eyes, red with anger, locked onto the broadcast playing on repeat. On screen, Princess Catherine smiled brightly, waving to cheering crowds filling the streets. People held signs with her name, their faces glowing with admiration. But Camilla wasn't watching the crowd. Her gaze was fixed on something else. The Windsor crown, displayed in a glass case, shining under bright lights, a masterpiece of gold and diamonds. In less than 12 hours, it would rest on Catherine's head. And to Camilla, that meant one thing: erasure. Years of endurance, forced smiles, silent battles in front of the world, all wiped away in a single moment. She couldn't accept it. Her hand tightened. In a sudden burst of rage, she grabbed a crystal glass of red wine and hurled it across the room. It shattered. Dark red liquid spread across the wall, dripping onto the carpet like a wound. In the corner, Thomas stood frozen, her most trusted aide, a man used to cleaning up quiet scandals. But even he had never seen this level of fury. Camilla turned toward him, her face twisted with fear and envy. From her coat, she pulled out a stack of photographs and threw them at his chest. Thomas caught them, and his face went pale. The photos showed his younger brother, sitting in an illegal casino surrounded by cash and dangerous men. Camilla stepped closer, her voice low and sharp. No hesitation, no mercy. Tonight you go to the vault. The target is the Windsor crown. It must disappear before dawn. She didn't care how. Hide it, destroy it, throw it away. All that mattered was that by morning, Catherine would stand before the world with nothing. A humiliation broadcast to millions. Thomas tried to speak, his voice shaking, mentioning security, guards, the impossibility of it all. But Camilla cut him off instantly. If the crown is still there by 6 a.m., these photos go straight to financial crime authorities. His brother would be finished, his family ruined, and Thomas himself thrown out of the palace, his name destroyed forever. There was no escape, no negotiation, only one choice. Thomas swallowed hard, closed his eyes, and bowed. Then slowly, he turned and left. Behind him, Camilla's face softened into a cold, satisfied smile. She looked back at the screen, at Catherine, certain that by morning, panic would replace that smile. 2:45 a.m. The palace was silent, heavy, lifeless. Thomas, dressed in black, pressed himself against a marble statue near the West Wing corridor. Sweat ran down his face. His heart pounded violently. He checked his watch. Tick, tick, tick. He knew the routine. There would be exactly 3 minutes when the guards switched positions. 3 minutes. That was all he had to steal the crown or lose everything. Exactly 2:50 a.m. The steady echo of boots faded down the corridor. And then silence. Complete. Absolute. That was the moment Thomas had been waiting for. He slipped out from the shadows, moving fast, almost weightless, gliding along the wall like a ghost. Avoiding every faint beam of backup light, He reached the heavy oak door and pushed through. The staircase led straight down, and the air changed instantly. Cold, damp, heavy, carrying the smell of metal and age. He moved quickly through the winding passage until he reached it. The vault. A massive steel door, thick, impenetrable, guarding centuries of priceless history. But Thomas wasn't unprepared. From his pocket, he pulled out a dark gray magnetic card, unmarked illegal. A cloned access key, given to him by Camilla herself. His fingers trembled slightly, but he steadied them and swiped. Red light. Once, twice, then green. The door clicked open, just enough. He slipped inside, pulling it shut behind him, sealing himself in total darkness. The underground chamber swallowed him whole. He flicked on a small shoulder light. A weak beam cut through the black, revealing rows of glass cases filled with treasures, emeralds, diamonds, ancient jewels beyond imagination. But he didn't stop, didn't even glance. His eyes searched frantic, desperate, until he found it. At the center of the room, on a marble pedestal inside a reinforced glass case, sat a red velvet box. The Windsor crown. He stepped closer, breathing heavier now. From his bag, he pulled out a lead-line pouch, designed to block tracking signals. Then tools. Cold steel. Precise. He leaned in, sliding a razor-thin strip into the narrow gap of the case. Careful, slow, controlled. All he had to do, break the latch, lift the glass, grab the box, and run. That was it. One final push, and everything would change. For Camilla, for Catherine, for the entire royal family. Thomas closed his eyes, gathering every ounce of strength. He believed he was invisible. Perfect timing, perfect plan, perfect darkness. But he was wrong. 2 floors above, in total darkness, Prince William sat completely still. No lights, no movement, just the faint glow of an iPad illuminating his cold, focused eyes. This hadn't started tonight. It began a month ago. A tiny detail, a jewelry box slightly out of place, a scratch barely visible, enough to tell him someone had crossed a line. And instead of reacting, he prepared. Quietly, carefully, he installed micro cameras hidden deep within the vault itself, creating his own private surveillance system, invisible to everyone else. So when the vault door opened, he was already watching every move, every step, every intention. On the screen, Thomas appeared, dressed in black, moving straight toward the crown, ignoring everything else. That's when William knew. This wasn't theft. This was targeted, personal. An attack on Catherine, on her moment, on everything she represented. And Thomas? He was just a pawn. The real mind behind it was someone far more powerful. William didn't call the guards, didn't raise an alarm, because that would only catch the thief, not the mastermind. No, he wanted the truth, fully exposed. He stood up, grabbed the iPad, threw on his coat, and walked out into the silent corridor. Fast, silent, focused, avoiding cameras, avoiding noise, moving like a hunter in the dark. His face no longer calm, no longer royal. Now, it carried something else. Cold fury, protective, relentless. He was going down there himself. Because this time, he wouldn't stop at catching the crime. He would expose everything behind it. Back in the vault, Thomas tightened his grip. The tool was in place. One more push, and the lock would break. The crown would be his. He held his breath, applied pressure, and suddenly, the entire vault exploded with light. Blinding, harsh, unforgiving. It wasn't a faint emergency glow. It was a brutal explosion of light. Dozens of sharp, white beams cut through the darkness like blades. Thomas flinched instantly, his eyes snapping shut as pain surged through him. His body locked in panic. The tools slipped from his gloved hands, clattering across the cold marble floor. He stumbled back, raising his arms to shield his face, his heart pounding so violently it felt like his chest would burst. He waited for alarms, for shouting guards, for hands dragging him to the ground. But nothing came. Only silence. Heavy, suffocating, unnatural silence. Slowly, he opened his eyes and froze. Standing in the steel doorway, blocking the only exit, was Prince William. Not a guard, not security. Him, arms crossed, dressed in a long black coat, his shadow stretching across the floor like something alive. His face cold, unmoving, carved in stone. Those eyes, once warm and public, now completely dark, sharp, unforgiving. Thomas felt the strength drain from his legs. His blood turned to ice. He tried to breathe, but his lungs refused. Step by step, he backed away, until his body hit the display case behind him. Instinctively, pathetically, he hid his hands behind his back, as if that could change anything. William said nothing. No shouting. No sudden moves. Just silence. And that silence was worse than anything. He began walking forward. Slow, steady, controlled. Each step felt like pressure tightening around Thomas's throat. Your Highness, Thomas stammered, his voice shaking, cracking under fear. I'm on duty. A routine inspection. The Queen asked me to check the case for tomorrow's ceremony. Even as he spoke, he knew how weak it sounded. How pointless. William stopped, just 2 steps away. Then slowly, he raised the iPad. The screen lit Thomas's face, and everything collapsed. There it was. The footage. Clear. Sharp. Unavoidable. Thomas entering the vault. Swiping the fake card. Ignoring everything. Heading straight for the crown. And finally, his own hands prying open the case. No escape. No denial. Just truth playing on repeat. Thomas stared, his mind blank, his stomach twisting, nausea rising. He wasn't just caught. He had been watched. The entire time. You have 10 seconds. William's voice cut through the silence. Calm. Cold. Deadly. 10 seconds to give me a reason. Why I shouldn't send this to every news agency outside. And have you dragged out on charges of treason. That was it. Thomas broke. His knees slammed onto the floor. He collapsed forward, grabbing at William's coat, sobbing uncontrollably. Fear crushed everything. Loyalty, pride, silence, all gone. Through broken breaths, he confessed. Everything. The photos. His brother, trapped in debt, surrounded by criminals. The threats. The blackmail. The order. Not to steal for money, but to destroy Catherine. To humiliate her. To make her stand before the world without the crown. A symbol stripped of meaning. A public disgrace. Thomas cried, shaking, completely shattered. William stood above him, unmoved. Watching. Listening. Calculating. A faint, cold expression touched his face. Because this still wasn't enough. A servant's confession could be denied, twisted, dismissed. And the real mastermind could still walk away untouched. The priceless Windsor crown, a symbol of power meant for Catherine, Princess of Wales, nearly vanished in the dead of night. But what truly shook the royal family wasn't the boldness of the thief in the underground vault. It was the identity of the one pulling the strings. A carefully planned heist, fueled by the burning envy of Queen Camilla, designed to strip Catherine of her symbol and humiliate her before millions the next morning. But Camilla didn't realize that Prince William was already one step ahead. No guards. No media. No noise. William set the trap himself. With full control of the security system, he caught the intruder red-handed and secured a devastating audio recording. What followed was no longer royal tension. It was war. A war exposing blackmail, manipulation, and the darkest tactics hidden beneath royal elegance. With evidence powerful enough to destroy reputations, one question loomed. What punishment would William unleash on his stepmother? Would Camilla quietly fade into the shadows, or would this humiliation ignite something far worse? Inside her private chamber, Camilla sat frozen in the cold glow of a television screen. On it, Catherine smiled brightly, waving to cheering crowds. Thousands chanted her name, their admiration impossible to ignore. But Camilla wasn't focused on the smile. Her eyes were locked on something else. Destroyed. His family ruined. And he himself, thrown out in disgrace, never to work again. There was no escape. shaking, broken, and trapped. Thomas agreed. And as he left, Camilla smiled, a cold, victorious smile, convinced that, by morning, Catherine's glory would turn into panic. 2:45 a.m. The palace was silent, dead quiet. Dressed in black, Thomas moved like a shadow. He knew the guard routine perfectly, just 3 minutes of opportunity. That was all he had. By 2:50 a.m., the corridor was empty. He moved fast, slipping through shadows, avoiding light, descending into the freezing underground vault. The air was thick, metallic, ancient. At the massive steel door, he pulled out a cloned access card, illegally obtained. One swipe, green light. The door opened. Inside, darkness. His flashlight cut through rows of priceless treasures. Diamonds, emeralds, history itself. But he ignored everything until he saw it. The red velvet box. The Windsor crown. His target. He dropped a lead line bag, prepared to block any tracking signal. Tools in hand, he moved closer, sliding a thin metal strip into the lock. Just one push, and it would all be over. Camilla would win. Catherine would fall. But Thomas didn't know. He was never alone. 2 floors above, in total darkness, Prince William watched everything unfold on his screen. Every move, every step. This trap wasn't set tonight. It began a month ago, with a tiny detail, a shifted object, a scratch no one else would notice. Since then, William had built his own hidden surveillance system. Silent, invisible, untraceable. And now it was working perfectly. He didn't call the guards, because catching a thief wasn't enough. He wanted the mastermind. And to get that, he needed the truth spoken out loud. William stood up, grabbed his coat, and walked into the darkness. This wasn't security anymore. This was a hunt. And it was about to end at the Windsor crown. A masterpiece of gold and diamonds, resting under glass. In just hours, it would sit on Catherine's head. And to Camilla, that moment meant something unbearable. The world would no longer see her. Only Catherine, the new face of royal legacy. Years of endurance, forced smiles, silent judgment from the public, all erased in a single moment. Camilla's hand tightened. Rage took over. She hurled a glass of red wine across the room. It shattered violently, staining the walls and carpet like a wound. In the shadows stood Thomas, her most trusted aide. But even he had never seen her like this. This wasn't control. This was desperation. Fear of being forgotten. Camilla stepped closer, her voice low and razor sharp. She pulled out a stack of photos and threw them at him. His brother, caught in illegal gambling, surrounded by dangerous men. The message was clear. No discussion. No refusal. Tonight, he would enter the vault, and the crown would disappear. She didn't care how. Hide it. Destroy it. Throw it away. By sunrise, Catherine must stand before the world with nothing. Humiliated. Broken. Exposed. Thomas tried to resist. The vault was heavily guarded. Impossible to breach. But Camilla cut him off cold. If the crown remained by morning, those photos would reach authorities. His brother would be dead. Queen Camilla stared at the small device on the table. The color drained from her face instantly. Her heart skipped, gripped by a sudden, crushing fear. She recognized it, her assistant's recorder. And in that moment, a terrible realization hit her like a falling stone. Prince William leaned forward without a word and pressed play. A sharp burst of static filled the room. Then her own voice echoed out clearly in the morning light. That crown must disappear forever. I want her to have nothing to wear tomorrow. The words slammed into her like a hammer. Her strength vanished. She collapsed into the chair, clutching the armrests just to stay upright. Her perfectly composed face crumbled, pale, shaken, exposed. Her wide eyes locked onto the recorder, as if it were something monstrous, tearing her apart. In seconds, everything she believed she controlled, her pride, her power, her illusion, shattered completely. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak. This is a misunderstanding, a trick. Don't insult me, William cut in coldly. He pulled out his iPad and dropped it beside the recorder. The screen lit up, Thomas on his knees, confessing everything. Every threat, every order, every detail of her plan. Your pawn told me everything before he ran, William said quietly. He leaned closer, his voice low but cutting. Did you really think this was a game? That a cheap, dirty scheme could touch my wife's honor? Silence crushed the room. Camilla shrank back, unable to meet his eyes. She understood now. There was no escape, no excuses, no one left to blame. William straightened his tie and delivered his verdict, calm and merciless. I won't involve the police. I won't drag this family through public disgrace. He pointed toward the door. But from this moment you disappear. His words fell like a final sentence. You will claim illness. You will miss today's ceremony and every public appearance after that. Your roles are over. You will leave this palace and move to a remote estate. Quietly. A pause. Then colder still. And if you step out of line, this recording goes public. Camilla's mouth fell open. Tears gathered in her eyes. For someone who lived for power, attention, and control, this was worse than any prison. But she had no choice. Her arrogance was gone. She collapsed forward, her quiet sobs filling the room. William showed no reaction, no sympathy. He turned and walked out, leaving behind nothing but a broken shadow of who she once believed she was. 3 hours later, crowds filled the streets near Westminster Abbey. Bells rang across the sky. Flags waved. Millions watched from around the world. The balcony doors opened. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped forward, radiant, composed, powerful. Her smile lit the moment as she greeted the crowd, and resting perfectly upon her head, the Windsor crown. Diamonds blazing in the sunlight, untouched, unshaken, a symbol of rightful legacy and unbreakable authority. Behind her, Prince William stood calm, his expression steady, the look of a man who had eliminated every threat in silence. At that same moment, far away from the celebration, in a dark, quiet estate hidden deep in the countryside, Queen Camilla sat alone. No servants, no power, no audience, only a small television flickering in front of her. On it, Catherine's triumph. Camilla's fingers trembled as they touched her empty hair. Nothing remained. No crown, no status, no control, only bitterness, regret, and a silence that felt endless. Her punishment wasn't chains or prison walls. It was exile, to live in the shadows, watching the very glory she tried to destroy. And so the story closed, not with noise, but with silence. But in halls where power lives, darkness never truly disappears. So what do you think? Was this truly